Hello everybody. Welcome. How are things going? Let me make sure things are up and working. Welcome. Cool. Looks like things are working. Welcome in everybody. Welcome in. Let me get some extra stuff going in here. Sorry I'm a bit late. I had to last minute run a network cable to my laptop because I didn't before. And I had the mini freak out because it said my live streaming wasn't available. But I just had to specify my location and then it worked. So luckily it was just that. So welcome in. We'll give people some time to join. Welcome to the stream. Drop a chat if you would like to say hi or something. And I can say hi back. Welcome. Giving people a little bit of time to pop in here. How's everybody doing? We're going to be talking about the AnkerMake M5 today, obviously, because that's what this channel is based on. I received your printer a few days ago. Nice, printed mostly small things. Notice on the prints I have small blobs at multiple places. Not sure what could help that. Great question. Using easy mode, Benchy has the blob consistently in the same area on each print. Yes. So, those blobs are the seam layers, or the seam location. So basically that's when the printer shifts up a Z layer, and that just causes the printer to like pause in one spot and go up and then start moving again. So it can form a little bit of a blob. I actually got that on my first Benchy too. You really can't see it from there, but it's got some blobs along the bow of the boat, and that is the seam. So in simple mode, there's not much that you can do to control that, but if you go into more advanced modes, you can tell it where you want the seam to go. If you want it to go on the back or like hidden inside somewhere, if it's like an inner edge, you can tell it to hide inside there. Yeah, I think that's just how it's baked into this file, is since it's loaded onto the printer already, that's just how it is, that I think it's randomized. Oh, also on the back, well, that's interesting, I never noticed that. But the writing on the back of the boat actually looks like seam layers. So they might have like customized where the seams went to make it write something. But otherwise, it's just kind of a few spots on the front of the boat. We'll get into this in a little bit, but I actually yesterday started messing around with a different slicer, and you can actually like draw on the model where you want the seams to go. So we'll get into that in a little bit. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. Hope you're having an amazing morning, day, afternoon, evening, whatever time it is for you. Drop your questions in the chat and I will try to answer them. I've said this in all my videos, but I am also a beginner, but I also like sharing things that I've learned and things that I already know. Yeah, good question. What's your take on using another slicer? So far, I have dabbled with Prusa slicer. Um, and so far, it's pretty good. I didn't really know what to expect coming from the AnkerMake slicer. I kind of saw all of the options on the AnkerMake slicer. I was like, wow, there's so many things in here. It's so feature rich. And then I got to Prusa slicer, and there's just a lot of more visual tools, and you can like actually modify the models in the slicer. Like you can cut them in half, cut them and separate them into parts, different things like that with the Prusa slicer. And like I mentioned with the seams, you can take a model, say this ocarina, and you can like take a paintbrush or like a drawing tool in the slicer and literally draw where you want the seams to go. So I could like, you could write something in it, or you could just say, I want it to go here. Because on my ocarina, it defaulted to this seam here, which is fine because that's the part that's close to me when I'm playing it. So it's hidden. But um, you can draw where you want the seam to go, along with the other options that the AnkerMake slicer also has. Just like, is it on the back? Is it on an inner edge, or is it somewhere else? Different things like that. Welcome in, everybody. I also, I kind of just totally stopped talking about it. But so far, I like it. I like that you can customize supports more. I haven't done too much with the supports yet, but I do like that you can block supports. Like, I don't want supports here. Don't put supports here. Or you can say, I need supports here, and put them here. Or just here. It's kind of a good feature to have in the slicer. And the user interface is pretty simple as well. Took me a second to find everything, but it's just in different tabs that you go from like the viewport of like the model on the plate and stuff, and then there's print settings, and then there's filament settings, and then there's printer settings. So there's just different sections and different tabs for different things. Have you figured out how to block supports? Yes, a little bit. Are you talking in Prusa, or are you talking in the AnkerMake slicer? Yes, I do feel intimidated about all of the options in the slicers, especially in the AnkerMake slicer. It was my first slicer, so it was just like a long list of like drop downs and expanding sections and everything like that. And I was like, wow, there's a lot of options. But one thing I really do like about the AnkerMake slicer, Prusa also has this, but it like when you hover over it, it kind of tells you what the setting is for and what it does. So I really like that about it. Sometimes it's still kind of unclear about what something does, but in that case, you can just look it up and see like what that setting does. But yes, intimidation is a big thing. I do feel it's a valid reason for sticking to, like, say, the basic or simple mode. But I also think that if you really want to control the quality of your prints, then I think it's a good thing to kind of get familiar with it you're not going to learn it all at once. I certainly don't know everything about all of the advanced or anything settings like that, especially since I've just started dabbling into it. But you find the settings that you really need and want to control, and then you just go from there. And just little by little, you kind of get familiar with it. Okay, TW Home Show asks about blocking supports in the AnkerMake slicer. So, as far as I know, it is not possible to block supports in the AnkerMake slicer. There are the options for like setting the angle tolerance or the, what's it called? The, not the tolerance. What's the word? What is the word? The threshold, that's the word. The angle threshold. So like if you have a 45-degree angle, but you don't really want to support that, you just go above 45 and then it won't support that part. But as far as like manually blocking supports, there's no way to do it aside from telling it to put supports everywhere or only put supports where the supports will be touching the build plate. Yeah, they do need to add that and a lot of stuff. As Danny was asking about a different slicer, and I was talking about Prusa. Like I really don't know much about Prusa. I just started working with it yesterday, but I spent some decent time in there. It's just there's a lot more manual features, like especially with regards to customizing your model and supports and seams and different things like that. And it seems like AnkerMake Slicer has a ways to go. I think I also mentioned this, but like when I started with the AnkerMake Slicer, I was like, wow, there's so many options. And then yesterday looking at Prusa, I was like, oh, AnkerMake Slicer is missing a lot of things. Yeah, they do need to add it. So far, would you recommend that we move to Prusa Slicer? Is it easier to use than AnkerMake for a beginner? That is a good question. Yes, I would say look into it. I would say download it, open it up, see how it feels to you. There is the simple mode. It starts off in simple mode. So it's just like the really basic settings, percent infill, number of walls, etc. Some different things like that. But it also has lots of good things in the simple mode still. But yeah, I think it's worth giving a shot. Although you do need to make sure if you're using it with the AnkerMake that you find the profiles for the AnkerMake because it is not a built-in printer to the Prusa slicer. So you need to go to some GitHub pages. I found it through the AnkerMake Discord channel server. There are some people there that have posted AnkerMake profiles that you just do some copying and pasting into some folders and stuff, and then installing um, the printer profile from there as well. But yeah, I would say look into it, and I think that you'll find some good stuff there. Is this vase mode here? Printed in vase mode? Yes, indeed. This was my first vase mode print, and it turned out cool looking, but it's very porous. There's lots of holes. It's not watertight. I actually have a video coming about this first vase mode, and that'll be coming either today or tomorrow. once I edit it. But yeah, it works pretty well. And speaking of vase mode, I have a print loaded up here that we are going to stick into our printer and do some more vase mode. I'm going to print a small version, not of this, but just a short little pot for like a succulent plant. So we're gonna print some of that. Is vase mode an option in AnkerMake Slicer? Yes. Let me know if these fans are too loud. Right now it's booting up, so they're really loud. But once it calms down, let me know if these fans are too loud, or obnoxious, and I can change up some mic settings once it calms down. Hello from Kissimmee. Welcome. I don't know if I've ever heard of Kissimmee. Is that a city or a country? Actually, I don't think it's a country. I've never heard of that country. Maybe it's a country? I don't know. But welcome. Alright, so this is what the fans are going to be like. Let me know if that's too loud. Kissimmee, Florida. Okay, cool. What is vase mode used for? Good question. To get back to Home Show's question, is vase mode an option in the AnkerMake Slicer? Yes. So it is at the bottom of the options list when you're in, I don't think it's visible in simple mode, maybe it is, but it's at the bottom of the list under special modes, and then it's like the constant something. It's not called vase mode, but it's like called constant spiral or something, but it's in the special build modes. Let's get this print loaded up, and I will explain vase mode as we're getting into it. So vase mode basically means that the printer is going in a single line, just very gradually going up the print. It's not doing a layer, stopping, going up a layer, doing the next layer, going up, and then next and next, next. It's just one continuous upward motion as it goes, and it just creates really smooth, seamless prints. They're only one thread or one extrusion thick, one wall thick, but so they're not really sturdy at all. But yeah, I think it's more for visual cleanliness because there's no seams like we talked about with the benchy. There's no blobs or there's no seams or anything like that. So that is vase mode. What's the difference with normal mode 2? I'm not sure what normal mode 2 is. What am I drinking? This, indeed, my friend, is what they drink down in Argentina. This is yerba mate, or like they say in Argentina, yerba mate. So it's just an herbal, like ground up leaf, not ground, but like chopped up leaves, and then you pour hot water on it, drink it through this filtered straw called the bombilla, and then it's like a tea, like an herbal tea. Love your channel, thank you very much, Ivan Garcia. Hope you enjoy your stay, thank you for coming. I knew it, yeah. Yes, indeed, it is. It has been my morning ritual for quite a while. It's not a ritual, but you know, I drink it in the morning as I'm starting work. I meant to insert a double quote, so there's no normal 2, but normal. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, so normal mode is just the layer by layer, stop, go up, layer, stop, go up, layer, stop, go up, and that's what creates those blobs. Whereas vase mode is just a constant, gradual spiral upwards. So speaking of vase mode, let's get a vase mode print started on the printer. So I have the file loaded up on here. Like I mentioned, it's just like a short little pot for a succulent plant. So let's move my Mando and let's go into the files, USB, and it's this top one, hexagon planter. So let's see. It says it'll take. It doesn't know how long it's going to take, but it's in vase mode. Make sure the print bed is clean. Yep, we're good there. The filament's loaded, and print. Yes, as Home Show mentions, vase mode is available on, I think, all slicers, as far as I know. I mean, if AnkerMake slicer has it, then everything else probably has it, because, yeah. Cool, cool. All right, that's heating up. Gonna enjoy some mate. Let me know if you have any questions about any of these prints here, or like anything else. My latest video was about the tools that I use, but if you have any other questions about like how I use the printer, let me know. Is that? Oh, I kind of thought that was a little filament cutter, but let's see. What about the base in vase mode? Can you make the base thicker? Yes. So the vase mode really starts after however many layers you set to be the bottom. So like this one, I think the bottom is 2 or 3 layers. So you can build like a good skin on the bottom, and also that'll help with good adhesion to the print bed. But yes, you can set the bottom like how thick you want it to be, and then once it gets past that, it'll start the constant spiral upwards. My extruder always has problems grabbing the filament. I always have to unscrew the tube so I can force it in better, and after I'm done with it, it won't retract on its own. That is a valid concern. I have seen and heard many people talking about that. I haven't experienced much of that. I have experienced trouble getting it in, but usually I just am able to get it in by just poking it more and more, just kind of going in and out, trying different angles, twisting it a little bit. Sometimes I've had to pull it all the way out, cut it at a different angle, put it all the way back in, and it's just kind of trial and error until I've gotten it to work. So sorry I don't have much experience with that. I feel like I got lucky on the printer lottery because a lot of people have been having issues. Yeah, I tried to make that not sound weird, JD. Okay, moving on. But yeah, that has been the way that I solve any issues with putting the filament in. Do I do any post-printing maintenance? That is a good question. And the answer is, oh, like maintenance to the machine? I was about to answer like maintenance to the like sanding prints or filing prints or something like that. Post-print maintenance on this? Not usually. I just make sure there's no big pieces in the belt channels, and I just make sure that before I start a print that like all of the skirts and stuff are taken off, because otherwise it'll overlap these. I embarrassingly, yesterday I had the print plate off. I went into my other room to print it for my computer, and I started the print, and then like a couple minutes in, I was like, oh shoot, I didn't put the print plate back on. So it was printing on the directly on the hot plate. So that wasn't great, but I just stopped it and it came off okay. But I do not recommend. Um, okay, yeah, like cleaning and stuff. I have some alcohol and a microfiber bag that I use. Okay, so if that's too loud, let me know if you can hear it, and I can turn on some noise reduction on the microphone. But yeah, if I see like fingerprints or smudges on the print plate where the print's going to be, I just make sure to grab a bit of alcohol and wipe it off. But other than that, I haven't done much maintenance or care on this. It's usually just getting off any extra filament bits, just wiping things off, just brushing things off into my filament discard. Noise level is good, don't worry. Cool. I think it's already like doing some sort of noise reduction on this, but dreading taking the machine apart someday for cleaning, maintenance, or repair. I don't really see much of an issue with that. Here's a little known secret, but when I made my first video about the setup of the machine, I had actually already set up the machine, but my microphone wasn't working, so the audio was really bad. So I actually took apart the machine again and built it, which was good because then I could do the video a little bit more fluidly. But as far as like taking apart the machine goes, it's really not all that bad to take apart. Um, just like reverse it from how you set it up. Use the foam pieces to support the gantry and all that, and then just make sure you keep track of all the screws. Um, yeah. As far as like hardcore maintenance, I don't imagine there will be much. That's kind of also one of the things that I was excited for with this printer, is that because it's like very polished, like you don't have to, I mean, you may need to at some point, but you don't have to like lubricate the things inside and all the posts and all the things that are like custom built and custom put together. Um, but yeah, so far I think it's pretty fine. So we got the print going, and it did the first base layer. It looks like it did 2 or 3 layers, and now it's just going in a constant spiral on the way up. Is that bright enough? I guess it's black on the black print bed. Let me see if I can make this a little bit easier for you to see. Let's see if this helps. Not really. What about that? Okay, that kind of helps. Okay, there we go. That works. Let's see. Any Wi-Fi? Let's see. Make sure I didn't miss any. Any Wi-Fi errors at all? Yes. So usually when the printer first turns on, it's pretty good, and it can connect for a few prints, like from my computer. But I think after it's on for a while, it stops letting me watch the live feed in the phone app, and it also stops letting me print from my computer. The first few days I didn't have any issues at all, really, with the Wi-Fi, but after, I don't know if it updated or something, but it kind of stopped connecting with the phone live feed and my computer for printability. But usually for that, I just can turn it off and back on again, and it works. I have done one network reset, so just like reconnecting it to the Wi-Fi network, and that helped for a day or so, half a day. But then it started or stopped letting me watch the feed from my phone app. So yes, I've had some issues, but I also think that they will probably be fairly easily resolved. Okay. Um, post. Okay, so that was one that I skipped earlier. How's the AI been for me? Brian asks. I finally just turned it off. So yeah, the or not the Wi-Fi. The AI has definitely not been great. Um, I probably had over 50 like messages, errors, and none of them have actually been errors. So it's always like the first layer. When it analyzes the first layer, it'll like see some of the extra stringiness that came off while it was lifting, and then it'll detect that as an error. Um, but I always just ignore that one because it's usually never an issue. Sometimes it'll happen near the top. It happened like 3 or 4 times while printing this vase, but as you can see, there's nothing wrong with it. So I don't know what it's seeing that it thinks is an error, but yes, I have had um, many false positives with the AI. But hopefully, like the network issues, it can be fixed with software. But also, you don't want to buy a printer that promises AI and the AI just doesn't work. But I did, and I just hope that it will work one day. How loud would you say the printer is running? You know, I don't have a good ear for decibel levels because I've never really like synchronized my ears with like a decibel meter, and I don't have a decibel meter. But I think it's probably in the, I don't know, 50 to 60 decibel range. It's not whisper quiet, but it's also not screaming loud. It's probably about like talking level, um, but just like a constant, probably around that level. It's hard to say. Um, Danny asks, did you have any failed prints so far? I know you mentioned the shark in another video, but anything else? Yes. So, um, I think in my video from yesterday, I also mentioned the phone stand. Um, Here I have it in my scrap bin because it's pretty much useless. Um, but yes, so this is my first actually failed print, and it's mainly failed because the tree support in the middle wasn't dense enough, so it was like falling over as it was getting taller. And then I think it might have been able to finish, but in an attempt to like fix something or like adjust something while it was printing, I knocked it loose and it came off the print bed because it was really only attached by that much. And then that just went downhill from there. And it, it didn't work. So yes, that is my first failed, like fully failed print. Actually, I feel like I also, it wasn't necessarily a failure, but I stopped it. When I was printing this ocarina base, what was it about it? I think I had the layer height, or layer thickness too much. It was 0.3 instead of 0.2. And some of like the rounding of corners weren't connecting properly. So it wasn't a failure per se, but I stopped it because it looked like it was going to cause issues further in the future of the print. But then I reprinted it and it turned out okay. Along like top round edges and stuff, it seems to kind of struggle and it puts holes in the tops of things. I don't know if you can see that. Let me pull up a different view for myself. Give me a second. So I don't know if you can see that, but there's like some holes in the top of it and stuff like that. But as far as fail prints, this was my only one really so far. Let's see if we have any more questions, and then we'll look at the vase mode print that just finished. Has your app connection given you any connection problems? Yes. Like I mentioned with the Wi-Fi issues a little bit earlier, it'll just stop letting me see the live feed from the camera. Like the button's just grayed out. I can't even click it at all. So in that regard, yes, it usually still tells me like the time remaining and the stats and the progress and things like that. But it just doesn't let me watch the live feed. But those are the issues that I've had with the app so far. I was getting AI error messages about every 10 minutes. Haha. Yeah, I'll try it again once I've updated. Yes, that happens. I've had prints where I haven't gotten any, and I've had prints where they happen, like you said, every 10 minutes. This file is actually, or since yesterday, I've been using Prusa Slicer, and just when you use a different slicer, it doesn't do the AI thing, so it's kind of been disabled on its own. I never actually disabled it. But yeah, it seems fine to use it without AI. It's just like any other printer at that point where you just have to keep an eye on it on your own. Hello, one mad little grunt. Welcome. What is my usual speed? Do you print full speed? I've been printing at lower speeds, not confident enough. Yeah, so my typical speed has been over 200. If it's something like, let's see. I feel like I printed something slower just because I didn't want it to mess up. But I think I gave it away as a gift already. But yeah, I usually print at full speed. Sometimes I'll lower it down to like 200 or 210. Especially if it's like a really complex shape. I actually think I did it on a print that was letters. It was like words. So I wanted the words to be clean, so I kind of printed it at a slower speed, just so that as it turns corners and does curves of letters and stuff, that it wasn't going too fast, and so that it could make the letters look nice and clean. But yeah, usually over 200. First layer, I think I usually do slower, like 150 to 200, but sometimes I just leave it at what the slicer has already put in for me, and then just go from there. But yeah, I mean, the way to get over the scariness of it, or the fear of printing at high speed, is just find something simple, something small, so that if it messes up, it's not a huge waste of filament. But just find something and just print it at high speed and see if it works for you. And then you can either get bigger from there or go back to slower if you want. Funny thing, I noticed on my printer screen it was saying 8 hours remaining, but your print just finished. Is that because the print came from another slicer? Yes. So this print came from Prusa Slicer. Actually, yes, yeah. I was thinking of a different thing. So yeah, this file came from Prusa, and the printing's normal. Like it goes the faster speeds and goes different things like that. But yes, the time remaining is very messed up, as well as it tells you the filament it's going to use in millimeters instead of grams. So like, let's see. It used 2,000 millimeters of filament instead of 10 grams of filament. Actually, this is probably like 5 grams of filament. So yeah, the time remaining is messed up, and it's in millimeters, not grams. There might be a setting to change it to grams, and I will look for that because I like grams more than millimeters of filament. But yes, that is why the time remaining was off. Have I tried different materials like TPU? I have not. The only thing I have done so far is PLA. I have done silk PLA and just black PLA, and also Anker the Anker white PLA that came with the printer. Um, but I've actually not used too much white because white, I have learned recently, white will eat through your nozzles pretty quick because it's white because of titanium dioxide, which is used to color the filament white, and that is hard on the nozzle, unless it's a hardened nozzle. Let's see, so I have not tried different materials, but I want to. I don't know about ABS because there's no like enclosure on this thing. Excuse me. But as far as TPU, I would like to try TPU, and I would like to try PETG as well. I just have not gotten around to ordering any, and I need to do some more research into which ones are good. Okay, Martin Lepin asks, I'm trying to figure out the settings for supports. Oh, that was peaking, sorry. Let's go down a little bit. Trying to figure out the settings for supports. I have the feeling that a lot of unnecessary supports are suggested by the slicer. Do I agree? Yes. So, um, um, I was talking about this when the stream first started, and there wasn't very many people here. But yesterday I started looking into Prusa Slicer and just like the different options and the differences between the two. And I found, or while using the AnkerMake slicer, there were some things that I really wanted to change the supports for. Um, I think one of those was the ocarina. I wanted to like, no, it wasn't this. Actually, it was when I did the big Mandalorian. I wanted to support the cape, but I didn't want like supports going up to the arm and the hand and stuff like that because it doesn't need that. But I wanted it to be just on the cape, but I couldn't really make it just on the cape because um, there's no way to like block or remove or add custom supports in the AnkerMake slicer. But yesterday, as I was looking into Prusa Slicer, there's just a lot more options. You can draw where you want the supports to go. You can block them in certain spots, and different things like that. But as far as the um, AnkerMake slicer, yes, the options are very limited on how to place supports. And a lot of them are unnecessary and um, um, like you don't need all of them. You don't need that many. Did I print the big Mandalorian at full speed at 0.2 layer height? Yes. It was at full speed. Actually, it might have been like 210 to 230. I didn't go full 250. But I think because it was a gift, I wanted it to be nice and detailed, so I think I did 1.6 or 0.16 millimeter layer height on that one just because I wanted some nice, good detail. I think this ocarina is also uh, point 0.16. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't been good, or I haven't done very well at logging. Man, my voice is cracking. I haven't done very well at logging like what settings I use for what prints. Um, but yeah, I'm pretty sure I did my big Mandalorian at 0.16. I think slicing in Prusa, then opening the G-code in AnkerMake slicer and sending it to the printer that way produces an accurate timer. I've only done it once though. Good question or good thought. I did that a bunch yesterday while messing around with the Prusa slicer. I would export the G-code and then open it in the printer page in the AnkerMake slicer and then print over the network. But on that one, it actually made the times really even more crazy. Like at the beginning of a print yesterday, it said something like 400 hours on one of my prints. Actually, let me go get the print real quick. It's kind of a fun one. So this print yesterday, it's like a little rotating rings toy, or not toy, but like fidget gadget thingy. And it took like an hour and a half to print. Um, but I think when I started it, it said something like 430 hours remaining or something. Um, so it's hard to say. I don't think, actually, I might have started this from the USB stick. No. Yeah, so I started that over the network, and I think the time was pretty messed up. So it could happen that um, it helps with the accuracy of the time going through the AnkerMake print page, but I don't think it does it all the time. Lychee Slicer just added FDM support, and they have AnkerMake M5 profile. Yes, I think it might have been you or somebody. Somebody commented that on one of my videos, and yes, I'm definitely going to look into Lychee Slicer because it like officially supports AnkerMake, or has a default or whatchamacallit, a like yeah, I don't know what I'm trying to say. A pre or from the manufacturer, from the developer profile for AnkerMake. So yeah, I'm gonna look into that too. We'll try Prusa. Cool. Yeah, I think I haven't looked into Cura much, but I just started looking into Prusa. I actually haven't looked at Cura at all. I say much, but I haven't looked at it at all. But yeah, I think Prusa. I've heard lots of good things about Prusa, and I think it's probably a good uh, secondary option or primary option, and then AnkerMake as a secondary. ¿Hablas español? Sí, amigo. Yerba mate. Sí, hablo español. Sí. Yes, I do speak Spanish. Yerba mate. Cool, cool, cool. Any other questions about the printer so far? If not, we'll take a look at this print. Also, thank you to everybody for joining this morning, or whatever time it is for you. Thank you for popping on. We've had some pretty good viewership. What is the print I am most proud of so far? That would be the, as far as like the coolness factor, would be my big Mandalorian. I don't have it anymore because it was a gift that I already gifted. But I think the big Mandalorian was like the most impressive so far. As far as like the one that I'm personally most proud of is maybe the shroud for my camera because I designed it myself. Um, it's gonna be hard to show. I don't know if I can show it. But it's basically something like this that my camera slides into, um, and then it just kind of stays there with friction. So it's a fairly tight design, but it just stays there with friction, and then my tripod plate can stick to the bottom, or not stick, but can be screwed into the bottom of it, and it just stays like with the tripod thread. And then I can just slide my camera into it and attach the cable, and it's good to go. So that's probably the one that I'm most sentimentally proud of. But as far as like impressiveness, it would be my big Mandalorian, not this one, but the big one. Uh, this one, the shark, is actually honestly the most disappointing print so far, just because it didn't work well and the top of it's pretty rough and kind of gross. So this would be my uh, most disappointing print so far. Yeah. I also like my ocarina, and it sounds kind of. I think it sounds pretty good when I play it well, but I'm not super good at playing it yet. I'm not gonna play it. Yeah, it won't sound good on this microphone. Any print recommendations? Good question. There's so many. If you like musical instruments, like if you've played piano or a wind instrument of anything, I'd try an ocarina. It's pretty fun so far. The hard thing is just finding songs to play. Um, but there's some stuff out there. Um, Vase mode is also pretty cool so far, and I think it just looks pretty cool, looks impressive. Find a cool design and print it. It's pretty cool. Um, yeah, that's that's about all I can recommend because I really haven't printed all that much yet. Um, but this rotating rings toy, fidget toy, is kind of cool. It's kind of stiff in some directions, so it's not the greatest. I guess I'm like doing it against a black shirt, but it's just rings inside of rings that move freely. It's just for like fidgeting with. But yeah, that's about all the recommendation I can give. You got your printer delivered here in Costa Rica yesterday, and I have been printing like crazy. Yes, I that's awesome. Congrats, man. Yeah, when I got my printer, I tried to have something printing all the time. Um, I'm loving the printer. Thanks for helping us with it. Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, I don't know everything about the machine, but I am learning and I like sharing what I know so far. Would you recommend that I purchase this printer? No hard questions allowed. Just kidding. Um, that's hard to say, man. I don't know you. I I can tell you that I've had a fairly positive experience with the printer so far. Aside from some of the software bugs and like the false AI detections and errors and stuff like that. But as far as like the printing goes and the printing experience, it's been probably like 90 to 95% a positive experience. Um, and as a first printer, this is my first printer. I I'm happy with it so far. Um, it's hard to say if I would recommend any other printer because I don't know any other printers. But um, yeah, that's what I can say so far. Is just um, if you like 3D printing, and you think that, or if you've never done 3D printing and you think it'll be cool, I'd look into it a little bit more, look into this a little bit more. I think it's a really good first printer because it's so easy to set up and get running, as compared to like some of the custom built ones or like the ones that you have to put everything together. Some of those just take so long to configure and get the bed level and all that stuff. This is just screw in a few screws and push a button on the screen to level it, and then it's good to go after that. Um, but as far as buying this for your printer, um, I'll leave that up to you, but I I would give it a good recommendation so far. And it can honestly only get better. I mean, there's the occasion that an update could break something or could not like physically break something, but like just an update could make more bugs. But that's also with any other piece of hardware and software. But yeah, I think it's a good first printer. With vase mode, do things tend to be more fragile? Yes, 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 yes. So let's take a look at this print, and we'll see if this can show us some things. That came off real easy. Interesting. So it looks like this had some issues with rounding the corner, maybe. Yeah, we'll just look at this one. I mean, it's fine, but we'll look at this one. So yes, things are much more fragile because it's only one layer thick or one wall thick. So things are very light, like it's very light, but it's also not structural at all. It's very much for show, I think. Um, it's also not watertight. I have a video coming out about that soon. So if you're not subscribed, subscribe so you can see that. But yeah, it's very not sturdy. Like I could crush this in my hand if I wanted to, or if I really tried to. But it's also, you can like see through it basically. Um, but yeah, I think it's cool. Let's actually look at this. Let me get this in a place where I can bring this to the camera and also get it in frame. Yeah, so I did this weird thing where it's like zigzagging on, it's not zigzagging, but it's like it missed the point on the corner. Am I in focus? Yeah. So it like did this weird, it looks like stitching along the corners. Maybe that was part of the design. I don't recall it being part of the design. It's actually kind of cool. And at least it does it on all of the corners. But I think that's could be a mistake, but the top of it's completely fine. So maybe it is intentional. Actually, you know what it is probably, since it's on the outward angle, it's just going like a little bit too far. Or as it's rounding the corner, it's slowing down and extruding a little bit of extra stuff. So I think that could be part of it. Is it in focus for you guys? Yeah. So let's see. A little bit like that. Yeah, the top of it's perfectly fine. Those corners are really great. So I think it could be either part of the design, or it's just like because it's building the layers outwards, and that it's just kind of going a little bit too far or something. But yeah, this is the base mode. It printed the skin pretty well. I think, let's see, 1, 2, 3 layers. 3 layers of skin on the bottom with the drain hole for the succulent plant, because this is for a little succulent planter. But everything else about this is fine. It is also not completely watertight or airtight. I can see some gaps in the seams, but also that's okay because like pots and stuff need air and stuff and like drainage. So this will drain and this will also help like get oxygen to the soil. I don't know. I don't know much about plants, but oh yeah, but yeah, as you can see, like this is vase mode. It's only one wall thick, and it's very much not very sturdy. Here's the other one. This one's just a little bit more structural because it's triangles, but it's also pretty thin and pretty, yeah, pretty not very strong. But I think this actually turned out pretty cool. I like the design, even if it is a flaw. I like the design of the corners here. So yeah, there's our print from just now. And that printed in like 5 minutes. Well, not 5 minutes, like 10 to 15 minutes. But yeah, so that's base mode on that. And this was base mode from the Prusa slicer. Let's see. Do you know if the default settings of the expert mode are the same than the settings for the easy mode, to the exception that you can edit more settings with the expert mode? That's a good question. I kind of went straight into the advanced mode because I like to tinker with lots of settings and stuff. But as far as if it keeps the same settings, I would think so. I would think that it keeps the same defaults. And then from there in the advanced mode, you just tweak things from there. But I'm not entirely sure. Sorry, I can't answer better. You had a monoprice Mini V2, the cheapest of them all when I got it, and it was good practice. Now this AnkerMake is like stepping up from a bike to a Ducati. Nice. Yeah, I can see that. This is, I mean, I'm not gonna say it's worth its price at the moment because some of like the software errors and stuff, and you're probably paying for a lot of that. But as far as like going from a custom built to a production supercar, I I can kind of see that. Yeah, from a bike to a Ducati, I like that. Just received some Overture filament today. Silk gray and rock white. Nice. Yeah, I think I'm about to order some more silk filament. But yeah, that's what I've been printing with most of the time. This is the silk gray. I really like the sheen of it. And then this is the silk copper. So I think I'm going to maybe get some silk gold. Could be pretty cool. And like some silk red. Could be kind of cool. I need some poppy colors because all I have right now is neutrals. But also I like the neutral tones because you can actually put them places and not look like toys around the house. Excuse me, this mate makes me burpy. Hopefully that doesn't transmit too much on the mic. But yeah, congrats on the new filament. Rock white. I think I've heard good things about like the rock, like the granite color filaments. I think they seem pretty cool. Let's see. Still can't say, but just the fact that you are taking initiative, this channel places if you continue. Taking this channel places if you continue to do everything you were doing in only about a month. Yes, thank you. I am actually really happy with how it's going so far. Let's see. What are we at? Yeah, just overnight, I went up a bunch of subscribers. Not that it's all about the numbers, but yeah, it's been, what, a week? I think I got my printer last Thursday, and my first video went out on last Friday. So yeah, it's been a week, and we're already over 100 subscribers, and thank you everybody that has subscribed so far and made that possible. But yes, thanks C Snoopy for the compliment. I hope to be able to continue to make exciting content and informative content. When I started the channel, I really wanted to focus a lot on the value of the information and not so much like the entertainment aspect of videos, but I also want to make the informative aspects entertaining so that people actually enjoy watching them. So I hope I'm striking a good balance, or at least going in the right direction for that. You bought a Mini V2 Delta. Is that a monoprice Mini, I think? Is a Mini V2 Delta, and was surprised how good it was for a cheap Delta printer. There are some people selling those AnkerMake printers locally. Really tempted to buy them. Oh, interesting. People bought enough of them to sell them again. Interesting. I would be careful with those because um, they could be hiking up the price for them. Um, like in the computer parts market, that's called like they're called scalpers, I think, where they like buy them cheap and then sell them at extreme prices. But yeah, if they're normal price, then yeah, if they're selling them locally, that's pretty cool. What made me choose this one versus others? That is a very good question. I think the big thing that sold me on this printer is just like the ease of use of the printer. Just the fact that it's literally like 8 screws in the bottom and you're set up and you're ready to go. I really liked that about it. I also liked the speed that came with the machine like by default, by design. Like it's not hacking the machine or hacking the firmware to make it go faster like on some other printers, but it just comes and works fast. I know it's not the fastest machine. The bamboo ones are like the carbon printers are really fast. Um, but they're also a little bit more expensive than this. And I mean, I don't know much about them other than that. But I chose this one mainly for those reasons: the ease of setup, the speed by default, and also it's like a decent brand. Anker. Anker is a fairly reputable brand. Um, I mean, it's their first 3D printer, so there could be different things that are wrong with it from like a design standpoint. But I felt like the Anker brand was a brand that I could trust enough to like make a good product off the bat. Um, but also Anker's been in some interesting situations lately. But I still think they're a pretty good tech brand. Thank you, Danny. I just want to say thanks for doing all those videos. You're welcome. Oh man, I keep clipping the microphone. Been a big help in your journey of 3D printing. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you enjoying the videos, and I hope that I've been at least somewhat helpful. I can see this channel taking off and getting huge. Wishing you guys success. Thank you, JD. I appreciate the support and all of your questions today too. Thank you so much. Muchas gracias. If you speak Spanish too, you asked me if I spoke Spanish, so I assume you speak Spanish. Vea, muchas gracias por estar aquí y por suscribirte. I think you've subscribed. But yeah, thanks JD, thanks Danny. C Snoopy agreed on the fact that my video transitions are quality along with the info. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Have I used any wood fill PLA for any of my prints? I have not, but I have considered getting some wood filament. I also need to look into getting a hardened nozzle, so that I can print more comfortably with white and with like wood and stuff. I mean, I think this is a Kickstarter perk, but it came with like a bunch of nozzles. There's 7 more .4 nozzles, so it's not like I have to be super careful with them, but I also don't want to just eat through nozzles. Um, yes, but I do like the the fact that I think you can sand wood filament. That seems pretty cool, and stain it. So that could be really cool for like home decor and stuff like that. I saw their Kickstarter for the multi-filament machine. Hopefully it actually is as good as what I've heard about this printer, and of course, see it on this channel. I mean, if this channel keeps taking off, then maybe I'll take a look at the V6 multicolor thing. But at the moment, uh, I have not really considered using the multicolor, mainly because I wanted to see how I like 3D printing first, and also it was like another $400. So I didn't go for it yet, but if this channel keeps blowing up like it is, maybe that will pave the way to get into the V6 color engine. But also, I think the AnkerMake slicer would have quite a ways to go as far as functionality and customizability before being able to get the V6 to work well. Because as it stands, like, you can't block supports, so, or like you can't even generate custom supports with the AnkerMake slicer, so I'm not sure how layer changing would work in it yet. But I mean, they're working on it, so yeah, we'll see if we can get it to this channel at some point. Eric Vargas, I love the auto leveling feature, and that, as you mentioned, is almost plug and play. It's fast and reliable. I do think the fan is very loud. Uh, yes, I agree on all of those statements. It's very simple to put together, but I do agree with the fans. Like right now at idle, the fans, I don't think it's like the extruder fans are going, but like something something in the printer is running the fans. Something in here is has the fans always on, and I wish that they would make it so that you can turn it off at idle. I don't see why it needs to be on all the time. Because it would be nice to just be able to like leave it on, but not have it consume so much energy. Because I mean, the fans being on consumes energy. So it would be nice to just be able to leave it on in a room and then not have to worry about closing the door to the room or different things like that. But yes, I do agree that it is fairly loud. I don't know that there's much to be done physically in terms of fan noise, because the fan spouts, or the fan, like the outputs of the fans, are pretty small, so that could also contribute to the noise. But yes, I like the auto leveling feature. Yes, it is a very easy printer to start using. Let's see. The AnkerMake should be super fast printing larger prints with the 0.6mm nozzle. Yes, I do imagine that this would be really fast for big models with a big nozzle. I need to look into how to change the nozzle and make a video about that, because I have not done it yet, and I honestly have no idea how to do it yet. This takes a standard nozzle, right? I do believe that this is like a common nozzle, and I don't think, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not proprietary or anything like that. I mean, if anybody knows 3D printing, these are the nozzles that it comes with. Let's see if I can get them in focus. So if those look like typical nozzles, then yes, that is what this printer uses. Appreciate the perspective. You're curious about wood filament for tactile pieces, say a chess set. Ooh, that would be really cool. I mean, I haven't really touched wood PLA or wood filament yet, but I do imagine that that would be a really good material to print chess sets with. I would think it has a really cool feel to it. Your first printer still in the box is the Anycubic M3 Max. Got discouraged after seeing some resin videos. Not as easy as it seems. Messy and toxic. AnkerMake M5 is a better choice for a beginner like me. Yes. I have also seen videos about resin printers, and it's really cool that they can print at such high detail, but like you said, messy and toxic. That is, like, I think at one point I considered maybe like a small one, but just looking into the resin, and you need like a well-ventilated room and gloves and a way to dispose of all the extra resin. I just don't think it's worth the hassle of cleanup and rinsing and curing and all that stuff. And for my uses, FDM printing is uh, plenty for me. Um, Another fun material to look into is PVB. It prints easily like PLA, but you can smooth it by spritzing it with or dipping it in rubbing alcohol. That sounds really cool. I have seen things about uh, like smoothing things down with alcohol, but I couldn't remember that it was PVB. But that's cool. I'll have to look into that. That sounds really cool. Um, I would like to find a way to make like transparent prints. I know they make transparent filaments, like transparent PLA, but it's really not all that transparent. But that would be cool. I'll look into PVB. Thanks for that, Brian. I actually just bought some myself. Would I assume you're just bought some myself? I think you're talking about. Okay, yeah, about wood PLA. You're about 2-ish weeks into 3D printing yourself. 3D printing. Spent way too many hours researching and trying to learn about it. I'd be interested to see the different wood. Yeah, I will look into wood PLA, and that might be in my next filament order. Yeah, transparent PLA is usually garbage from your experience. Yeah, I don't see much. I don't know. I don't know what I think about it except for what I already said. Michael is responding to JD. I don't know much about off-gassing with resin versus PLA versus ABS. Resin is more toxic. I think resin, yeah, like the vapors are not great, and also like you don't want to touch it, so you need like gloves, and you need to rinse things and different things like that. And I think it's just very smelly. So like I'm not in a workshop. This is like just a spare room in my house, and it would not make a great smell for our basement. Okay, yeah, wood filaments. I see a lot of reviews on some that are cheaper versus ones that are $40 per kilogram, and trying to see if there's a difference. Okay, that is good to figure out. Yeah, there's just a lot of filaments that are, I mean, obviously PLA is one of the most cheap. That's why that's all I've bought so far, because I wanted to get comfortable with printing before moving on from PLA. But like even quantum PLA, like the dual color, is like $30 per kilo. No, $30 per like 0.75 kilo. So quantum PLA looks sick, but it's expensive. I might get just a roll, but I don't know. Lots of rolls just add up over time. But I guess it's a hobby, and hobbies usually require money. So, yeah. Eric Vargas, I found your channel today, and it has been very helpful. Great and very explanatory content. Muchas gracias. De nada, amigo. Gracias por estar aquí. Yeah, I appreciate you finding my channel and checking it out. And I'm glad I could be of some help. Is there a turn off motors options for those? I found the one that I have has that option, though never tried it. Turn off motors? Like for the fans? Is that what you're talking about? Does PLA smooth with acetone? That is a good question. I do not know the answer to that. I don't have any acetone. Somebody else watching know if PLA smooths with acetone? Oh, see Snoopy is responding. They've seen videos that do something like that. M5 does have proprietary nozzles, so we need to wait for them to come out with hardened nozzles. You'll be the first in the line for that. Dang, I was hoping that they were not proprietary. But yeah, I guess, like you said, we'll have to wait for them to provide hardened nozzles. Maybe that's why they gave us so many brass nozzles. Dang, I was hoping that they weren't proprietary. They are proprietary, dang. Just ran into this yesterday if it helps with transparent. Resin just looks like a lot more work than it's worth for everyday prints. Yeah, I think for like maybe really small models, or like game pieces or something, or dice or like transparent things, because resin is better for transparency. But aside from those things, like big prints like this, I don't really see any real benefit to using resin. I mean, yes, it's smoother probably overall, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know all that much about resin yet. Most people you know are just use resin printers for small prints like miniatures. Yeah. Yeah. One thing that I still have yet to try, I still have lots of things yet to try, but we also get the 0.2 millimeter nozzles, which are the tiny, tiny nozzles. Those are supposed to be good for small things too. But yeah, I imagine like the 0.2 is so insanely small. So small. But yeah, I'm curious to try some different size nozzles. PLA doesn't really smooth well with acetone. No. Awesome. Thank you, Brian, for answering that. I was responding to your comment about the motors. About the fan motors. Let's look through the settings real quick and see if we can see anything. Let me pull up my camera control here. And we will give me a second to change this angle a bit. Alright, let's look through the menus. Oh, Brian said no, it looks like. Alright, yeah. Yeah, from what I've seen, I haven't seen that option to disable the fans either. I feel like that was like one of the initial things that people like pre-Kickstarter campaign, like the beta receivers, the beta testers said, is that was something that it needed right off the bat, but I don't think it's in there yet. Custom notifications, lights, temperature, language network about. No, that's just that. Log, upload. Yeah, I'm not. Control. Lock motor. I would assume that's like. Oh, that just makes it so things don't move. Okay, yeah. Auto level. No extrudes the offset. Yeah. I don't think there's a way to turn off the motors or the fans. Um, yeah. CNC Kitchen had a really good video on some transparency filament printer settings to make it look really nice. Cool. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. Um, I've watched some of CNC Kitchen's videos, but not all of them. If you do get transparency filament, then it would be really helpful to look at that. Then you could add his video and then see if that helps others to find my channel. Good point, good point. There's lots of things that I could do to grow this channel. I just need to decide which methods I'm gonna use. But so far, I'm really like blown away by just like the organic growth that this channel has seen so far. Like I said, it's been a week and we're already over 100. TPU soon, please. Okay, I will look into TPU filament and I will try and find some good filaments to use for TPU. Polymaker does make a clear PVB. Smoothing it helps the transparency, but it's still not amazing. Yeah, from what I've seen, it's like transparent, where it's like, yes, it's translucent, but it's not clear at all. It's kind of cloudy or like very, just kind of like this amount of transparency, where it's not really great transparency. It's not like clear plastic transparency. Remember to leave a like on the video, people. Yes, thank you, JD. Yes, if you haven't liked the stream yet, like the stream. And yeah, you just bought some TPU and wood filament. Oh, wood. I'll have to give it some tries and find somewhere to let you know what I found about it. Yeah, for sure. Just comment on any of my videos or my latest video and let me know. I'm down to learn more about it. Dang, see Snoopy, this is the first time you've been in a chat. You're like chatting away. It's great. You're replying to people. You're asking me questions. You're a great first time chatter. Well done. Well done. I appreciate all of the active support. Let me know any final questions you have, or if you want me to start any sort of print. And maybe I can start another quick print. But if there's no other questions, we may end shortly. We've been going for an hour and a half. That's crazy. Any future big projects that you're planning on doing using the AnkerMake M5? That is a good question, and I do not know the answer. I got the printer with like a long list of things that I wanted to print, and I haven't even really touched the list. Um, I need to find more things to print. I admittedly may have already run out of things to print, but I'm going to keep printing because that's what I can do. That's like, yeah, I'm going to keep printing. But as far as big projects I'm planning on, um, I do want to make like a helmet or a mask at some point. I just need to uh, figure out what filament I want to use and how much of the filament I want to use. Um, any future? Oh yeah, just answered that one. Just nice not to have 1,000 messages a second and everyone is here actually working together to answer questions. Yes, that is a very valid point, Snoopy. Like you get on some big streams like gamer streams, and like you can't even see the chat. Like things just fly by, and people are responding to each other, but you don't know who's talking about what. But yeah, a small chat's nice. Agreed. And what made me want to start a YouTube channel? What made me want to start a YouTube channel? That is a good question. I have other YouTube channels, um, and I'm a filmmaker, and I like making videos, and I like helping people, and I like teaching people things that I learn and things that I know, because it helps the people watching, and it also helps me solidify the knowledge in my brain. So that's. I also wanted to make like this hobby of 3D printing a little bit more than just printing stuff. I wanted it to be like something of value to me and to other people. So instead of just like printing random things for myself, I wanted to print things, see what goes right or wrong, and then share that with other people so that they don't have to make the same mistakes that I do. So yeah, that's part of why I wanted to make a YouTube channel. Make a full 3D printed suit of Iron Man armor. Oh man, that would be like over $100 of filament. I don't know if I'm ready for that. Concerning transparency and resin, I saw a suggestion for dipping PLA in resin as a clear coat. Might be a good compromise. Yeah, that would be cool. I actually had that thought the other day too. I was like, you could make things really shiny by dipping them in resin and then curing them. And that would like make a smooth surface for prints. So yeah, I had that same thought the other day too. Also, side note for anyone who is starting out 3D printing or even programs like FreeCAD, Discord channels are an amazing place to get one-on-one help in person. Just got yesterday and now no. Yes, Discord is a great place to ask questions. There is a community for the AnkerMake M5, like officially from Anchor, and there's also an unofficial AnkerMake Discord server, and they're great places to ask questions about the printer or about 3D printing in general. How to make a model. Um, if I knew more about designing models, then maybe. Like I mentioned earlier, the only thing that I've designed is this simple shape. Um, I don't think that I would start with like, or I don't think I'll ever get into character modeling because that gets into like some really intense Blender stuff. Um, but as far as like functional print designing, I have some other things that I want to design and print as well. Um, yes, I don't know about the the Iron Man armor, I maybe would just start with a helmet. But I need to, um, I think I have a lot of white. I have this whole roll of white and another roll of white. So I think I might do like a Stormtrooper helmet or something to start off with. As far as like the Iron Man, I would need different colors of filament. You're hyped to build spaceships, armor, exoskeleton for action figure customization. Here we geek. Nice. Yeah, I think that's like the perfect use case for 3D printers. Is just building things like to customize things or just making your own things. And it's like a really cheap way to do it too. Like you could buy an ocarina online for however much you wanted to spend on it, but like $40 maybe minimum. But this print cost like $1.50, I think, with the used filament. Recently, you downloaded an STL file that was way too big for the printer. Any way to scale it down with the slicer? Yes. So to answer Danny's question about scaling in the slicer, yes. So the first thing that you would do is just drag and drop that STL into the slicer, and then in the slicer, there's on the left hand side, there's like the little toolbar. One of those is the scale option. You can scale it down to however big you want, or there's a little toggle that'll be like fit to the print volume of the printer, and it'll just make it as big as it can while fitting on the printer. So that's how you do it in the AnkerMake, and other slicers are the same. Just bring it into the slicer and then just scale it there in that with those options. I should add my other channels you have in your channels section. Would be interested to check those out too. Maybe. I'm thinking about it. I'm still debating if I'm going to do that. Just for, yeah, reasons. Brian's responding to Danny. You can scale pretty easy in the slicer. Yes. Select the model options on the left. Yes, one is scaling. Perfect. And from a mathematical standpoint, if you have a figurine that you want to print that is a multi-part, can I just scale it down 30% each piece and will still fit? Yes, as far as I know, you can scale multiple pieces of like different parts of a model, and they will all scale properly, and they will still all work together. As long as like the different parts of the model aren't like scaled differently in their STL state, which I don't know why somebody would design a model that way. But yeah, usually when you get a print that's multiple files that you have to print, they'll all be at 100%, they'll all be compatible, and then from there you can scale them all to the same percentage and they will all still work together. How do you cure the resin without the printer? The printers, as far as I know, the printers only cure them partially, just enough to like set the layers, and then after the resin prints, like after it's done printing, then you take off all the supports and then you put it in a little curing chamber. That's just UV lights that cure the print from there. Generally, yes, Danny, it can be a little fiddly sometimes with keyed pieces, but for the most part, that'll work. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't have any examples of scaling different pieces. Yeah, I don't have any examples to share. But yes, usually they work like that. UV light, yeah. You saw a really cool idea Uncle Jesse did to fit a printed helmet. He just used one of those 3D scan apps to scan his head, then place it in a slicer program along with the helmet to scale it to fit his head. Yeah, I think that would be a good way to go about it. I have a photo scanning app, or a 3D scanning app on my phone that I've only tried once, and it wasn't in a very good situation to scan something. But yeah, a good way, I think that would be a really cool way to get the proper scale. It's just you need to also like probably compare that 3D scan to like an actual dimension of your head just to make sure that that model matches up with it. But yeah, I think that's probably how I would go about um, getting a model to fit my head. Also, like in Prusa Slicer, you can like slice out a section of a model, and like so you could print out just a section that's like the widest part of your head and print that out, see if it fits. I think Uncle Jesse also did that. Is you just cut out like a section of it and make sure that fits your head, and then from there, if that fits your head, then the rest of the model is probably likely to also fit your head. And I could have some fancy thumbnail with me wearing it. Yeah, yeah, I'm sure there's lots of videos out there about it already, but I am down to make my own video about the process of making a mask or a helmet. Yeah, I think, yeah, I'm not going to claim that idea as my own because I think Uncle Jesse did one where he had like a piece of the helmet that went down along his jaw. I think it's one of his latest videos. It was like a strap or a slice of the helmet that went down along his jaw. No, it was a Batman mask. It was a Batman mask. And he just made sure like the jaw part of the mask fit down to his jaw. And then if it did, then the rest of the helmet would probably work fine. Cool. Any last questions about the AnkerMake M5? We might start wrapping things up pretty soon. You're very welcome, Snoopy. Thank you for being so active in the chat and asking so many great questions. I was worried I wouldn't have enough things to talk about, or I wouldn't know enough about the subjects to talk about them. But I appreciate you asking all of your questions. And have a good rest of your day, or whatever time it is, night. Make sure to let me know on that wood filament, or yeah, it was the wood filament we were talking about. Make sure to comment on one of my videos what you find, how you find it works for you. I will look into getting me some of that. I need to take notes or something. Actually, pretty sure I have chat replay on so I can look back at some of these comments and suggestions. What is that? Oh, it's a cat. Thanks for the stream, man. Enjoy your holiday weekend. If you celebrate. Thanks, Brian. Have a good one, too. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year. Keep your eyes out, everybody, for a video on base mode coming out soon. I just gotta edit it first. Oh no, John Scott. I am about to be done, but if you have any questions, I am happy to answer them, and we'll keep going. Thanks, Danny, for stopping by. Yeah, John Scott, ask away if you have any questions about the printer. I think you're the one that mentioned that you were in Europe, so hopefully this timing worked out for you. But you're here now, so that's great. Let me know if you have any questions. Or if not, then maybe you can just watch the replay of this and yeah, you can watch the replay and see if it answers any of your questions. Just tried to print something that screws. Okay, yeah, super tight. Yes. I'll be right back. I have a print to show that happening. Okay, so Um, to go with John's question, um, Ecto 3D, am I in the US? Yes, I'm in the US. So, this is a desk clamp headphone holder, headphone stand, and it's got a screw that goes through it. And this thing honestly was the hardest thing to print that I've printed so far, because with the first time I printed it, so it's two pieces. It's this piece, and then it's this piece that has a little dovetail thing, and that dovetail was a pain. So this is uh, it, uh, the first attempt, but the dovetail was just filled with filament or with supports, and it was just stuck in there, and I could not remove it enough to be able to get the dovetail in. So I made some adjustment to the support settings. This was with the AnkerMake slicer, so I couldn't like block supports anywhere. Um, but I just made it so that the supports didn't have like the thick layer at the top of the supports, so hopefully it was easier to remove. But I still had to like dig it out and scrape it out and stuff like that, and barely got the dovetail to fit far enough in. But let me grab these two screws and come closer to the camera. Let me turn that around so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, so yeah, so here's the first. Let me aim this light. So here's the first. Like this dovetail was just full of support, and like there was no way to get the dovetail in. There's still a bunch of stuff in here that I couldn't get out, and also the screw thread hole also has some supports that never came out. So eventually I just scraped it out enough. I guess this thing is in here, so I can't take it out anymore. But I got it out just enough to be able to get the dovetail to get in far enough to be flush here. But here are the screws that are also for the sprint that go in the bottom. So this first one, there was an option for two different screws. There was like a tighter screw, and then there was a looser screw. And I started with the tighter screw, but it like just doesn't go in. Like it doesn't start threading, and when it does, it doesn't go in very well. So that was the first screw that just didn't work. So I printed like the looser version that was provided of the screw, and this one goes in, and it was tight at first, but once you get it going in, then it worked fine. But one thing I have noticed with the printer is that some things aren't like perfectly circular. Like this screw, you probably won't be able to see it here, but it's not a perfect circle. It's like a little bit of an oval. I guess you can kind of see it there. It's like it's not a perfect circle. And also with this rings toy, there's like certain angles where it's really tight, so it's like they're not perfectly round either. So I don't know if it's just going too fast to make a perfect circle, or if it's just not great at perfect circles. But like some of these angles are just too tight to, like, if I twist it at a certain angle, it just gets to a point where it just sticks, and as if it's not a perfect circle. And the same thing with the screw. Like even just like twisting it in my fingers, it doesn't feel like a perfect circle. But it works as a screw. It works well enough, and um, it goes in and functions like it needs to. So then this just clamps onto the desk over anything, and then the headphones just go on it. So that's my experience with screws. You said your screw was just super tight. Wondering how to dial it in. Yeah. So I don't necessarily know how to dial in a screw, because this one was just two separate models for the screw that were provided. one with tighter tolerances and one that was made to be looser. So I don't know if they just scaled it down. It looks like it might just be like a 1% scaled down thing. But if it's like, if the screw part is separate, I just try scaling it down by like 0.5%, see if that works, and then go 0.1% if that doesn't work, or 1%. Just try slightly different scaling and see if that works out for you. Like literally or figuratively? Yes, literally. It literally wouldn't go in. Literally. I don't even know what I said to make that such a funny joke. You just noticed the community area on the channel. I can follow up with the TPU wood filament. TPU and wood filament I use there and see if it's worth taking a look at. I'll just leave a comment there. Yeah, for sure, that works great. You can comment on the announcement of this live stream or whatever like that. That'll make, okay. John says that all makes sense. Do you have a Discord channel that I'm on? The Discord channel that I'm on is for... okay, let me start that sentence over. The Discord server that I'm on for the printer is the AnkerMake official Discord server and the AnkerMake unofficial Discord server. There are two of them. I'm usually on the official one more, just because I don't know why. But yeah, they both seem like really good communities with lots of people that are willing to help. So yeah, I'd check out the Discord servers for the official one and the unofficial one if you have more questions about the M5. Any last questions? Do you want me to demonstrate anything live? I can change out the filament live, see if that helps anybody. We can change out the filament and then print another vase if you guys want to see that. Or I can, yeah, anything you want me to demonstrate live, I can do that too. You're welcome, John. Glad you found this channel. Cool, yeah, I'm glad you found it too, and thanks for joining the team, joining the journey. Yes, changing of the filaments. Okay, so JD wants us to change the filament. Let's do it. Let's do, I'm going to change out to my silk gray, and then we'll just print this little guy again in the gray. Am I getting my own Discord server anytime soon? I have not thought about that. Maybe if this community or this channel grows a lot, like a lot, I would look into it. But also, there's also other options that are probably already better resources than anything that I could do. But it is a possibility. Alright, so let's change the filament. So let me adjust this camera a little bit, and we will go through the process of changing the filament. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that the extruder isn't pushed up against the bed or anything, because there's going to be stuff coming out of it and you don't want it to clog. So the first thing that you got to do to change the filament is come to Control. Make sure you can see this. Yeah. So Control, and then Extrude, And then it'll just say, make sure that it's not touching anything. And then you go, okay. I'm actually going to check that. It's a good reminder every time. And then you're just going to hit retract for the first time if you're unloading the filament. So we'll hit retract, and then it'll heat up. And then once the nozzle gets hot enough, the motors will start running in reverse and retracting the filament, and then we can pull it out. After a few pushes of the button. Usually I have to push retract twice in order for it to go to retract far enough to be able to pull it out. But we'll let that preheat, and then we should be able to hear it once it starts retracting. Well, I can. You probably won't be able to hear it, but I'll be able to hear it. Alright, so it just started retracting there. I think. Let's hit it again. Yep, so it's coming out a little bit. And then it gets to the point where it's far enough that you can just keep pulling it out and then rolling it up as you go. And then it'll probably be stringy when it comes out, but that's okay. Just roll it up, stick it in the holder holes on the roll. And then should be good to go. Okay, that one's good. And then now we'll load up the Overture Silk Gray. So we gotta pull it out of its thing. Actually, we gotta snip it off too. So usually after the kink that's in it, just cut it off at a good enough angle. And then we should be good with that. And then when you're loading the filament, you want to make sure that the filament's going like out and in, like from the far side. You don't want it to be going like this, because then it has to like turn and twist and find its way in that way. But you want to make sure that it's going out and around so that the curve is nice and shallow. Also, this isn't like an official configuration for this arm. It's meant to be like vertical or down here horizontally, but I actually like this better, and I don't think there will be any issues of it. Somebody mentioned in one of my videos that it could be like a little bit sharp of an angle when it's up here, but also that would just be like filament here straight into here, so I don't think that there would be much of an issue. And also when this is vertical, when this is all the way down, that angle right there is, the angle is pretty steep when it's like coming down from the top and then going in. So I think this is actually shallower more often. Okay, so we've pushed in the filament as far as it'll go, and then we just have to push this little lever on top and then push it in more as far as it'll go. Sometimes it doesn't move much further. You just gotta like try it a little bit more. And then just try extruding. And if it grabs, it'll grab. Okay, so that time it grabbed right away. Usually it doesn't grab right away. So I can feel it pulling it in, but it also looks like nothing is coming out so far. But let's just keep extruding it until it starts coming out of the nozzle. There it goes. Okay. So, and then we just extrude it enough to make sure that the colors aren't blending, unless you want it to blend at the beginning of your next print. Then you can just break off the excess of what's there. And then we're set to go with our next filament. Does that help you, JD? I hope that is helpful. I know a lot of people have had issues of getting the filament past this point and into the drivers or extruder or whatever. I can't say that I've experienced that, and I imagine that it's just like the issue of getting it into this blue tube part of the hot end. But I have not experienced that issue myself. But let's get this last ring of stuff cleared off of the print bed. Make sure it's clear. Also got to get these little pieces off that the printer uses to clear off the nozzle at the beginning of prints. And then just make sure things are clear here. Okay, we should be good to go. Let's go ahead and tilt down a little bit. And then we can go into our USB stick. So let's go start, USB, and then hexagon planter. And print. And then the bed will heat up. And actually, while it's doing that, I'm gonna rub off some of the little smudges that I can see in the middle. I usually just clean off where it's going to print. And then just make sure it dries before it starts. Alcohol dries really fast, so it should be dry by the time it heats up. And it's already dry. And a lot of people are concerned about this little dribble of filament that comes out. That's just a natural part of the preheating and gravity. Something's definitely wrong with yours. It will just not grab. Dang, yeah. I honestly don't know what's happening up in here. Like, I don't know if I would assume let me just pull this out of the bag. Well, I honestly don't know too much about how these work, but I would assume that the driver motors are above this tube, like before it, and then, yeah, I actually don't know. Yeah, I wish I could help more with that, but I cannot. Yeah, so at first I thought like maybe the issue of getting the filament in was that it was running into this tube, like some people have mentioned. But I think the drivers are before this. So it's like gotta get into the drivers before this tube. But I don't know. Maybe the motors are grabbing it, but it's just like running into the tube so that the motors can't push it. Or they're like pushing it, but it's just running into it, so it just jams it. I don't know. Like I said, I wish I could help you out more there. Maybe I'll exchange it for the extra motor. I don't think that this is a motor. This is just like the hot part. I don't know of any extra motors that I got, but yeah, I mean you could try out that extra piece that it comes with. Zeno, sorry I'm late. No worries. Did you run into problems regarding 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi? I have not. I think I mentioned this in my first video, but if you haven't seen it, my Wi-Fi is, I think it might have been in a comment of a video. My Wi-Fi is dual band, so it doesn't, or yeah, it doesn't really conflict with the 5 gigahertz and the 2.4 connection. But we also talked about this earlier, but it also has had issues with the Wi-Fi anyways. You couldn't find your 5G, had to use the M5 with 2G. Yeah, so the AnkerMake only supports 2.4. So when you're connecting on the phone, like when you're connecting the printer to the network via the phone, it tells you that it only supports 2.4. So if you couldn't see your 5G network, that is why. Because it doesn't support 5 gigahertz. I've also seen another channel, I think it's called Experience Preferred. One of the guy that I found him because he started making videos about his M5 experience when he first got his, and he was having issues with his Wi-Fi on the 2.4 and the 5G. And I have had issues with, like after being on for more than half the day, it'll just stop letting me watch the live feed in the app. And also, like I can't print from my computer after a certain amount of time during the day. So it's interesting, and hopefully they can address those issues, because I have also seen other people having those issues, other people in the Discord server. Welcome in, everybody, if you're just joining. Let me know any questions you have. I think this print will go pretty fast. Let's say that when this print finishes, we will end the stream. So get in any questions, last minute questions you have before this print finishes in probably about 10 minutes. Zeno, that is a big oof. Then I need to install a repeater for 2.4 only for the M5. Yeah, it's kind of a bummer. I thought that I might have to do that at one point, but then I figured out that our Wi-Fi is dual band, so it's got both. But yeah, I mean, you could really just find like an old router or something if you have one, and then just configure it for this. But then also comes the pain of needing to connect your computer to that different network, and if it's an old router, it might not be as fast, so you'll just run into things like that. But yeah, it's an unfortunate workaround that might need to be done for some people. So yeah, like somebody mentioned earlier, the estimated time remaining is pretty skewed when you're using a file from a different slicer. Like I really hope that this little vase doesn't take 170 hours to print, because it really only takes like 10 minutes and it's already almost halfway. So let me know any last questions you have before this stream ends, or before this print finishes, I should say. I appreciate everybody for being here. It's been a fun time. I talk way too much, but that's good. I hope that I've been somewhat helpful with some information today. And let me know if you want to see future live streams and any ideas for future videos that you would like to see as well. Looks like people are checking out, but if you have any last minute questions, let me know. If not, we're just chilling. Let me see if I can get a microphone next to the printer and we can see how loud it is based on that. So here's how loud the printer is. I guess it's not realistic. Because it's going through different things. But this is how loud the printer is. So there's a little preview of how loud it is. Cool, the print is just over halfway. Your printer arrived at the post office and I can't pick it up as I'm on a business trip. Oh no! Can't wait to get back. Yeah, for sure. I mean, at least it's in a safe place, right? My Z offset setting is at positive 0.1. At 0, it just sounded and looked like it was grinding into the build plate. And the first layers were always like super thin, like so thin that they were really hard to get off the build plate. And I actually had to use my metal pliers to like scrape at it gently to get that super way thinner than paper. It was like thin, like skin thin. Play the ocarina for you again. Oh man. Okay, maybe. I don't know very many songs that I can play very well. But let me change out the mic again to something that won't be so blasting in your ears. So here's Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit. Actually, what's the song of? I don't even know the name of the song, but it's like the original ocarina song. How does it start? I actually never really played the Ocarina of Time, so I'm not super familiar with the song. There you go. There's some ocarina. Hope that didn't sound too terrible. And there we have it. The print is finishing. Let's see. No, I don't know the Titanic notes yet. Yeah, there's a little snippet of the ocarina. Okay, so let's check out this print. We got the print finished. Let's check it out. And it's easy enough to come off, maybe. It's still a little warm. Come on. Pop off. There it goes. Alright, so there we have it. There's our second vase print for this stream. I've mentioned this in like all of my videos, but I really like the silk filaments. They're just like a nice sheen. I guess this black is kind of shiny. This is the Sunlu black PLA. It's still got a good sheen to it. But yeah, I just like the metallicness of some of these of the silk filaments. It's not super shiny when it's like this because it's not like a smooth down surface, but it's the layer lines. But it's still pretty decent. You wonder if you could find a Screaming Aztec death whistle file. That would be cool. I don't know that I'm familiar with an Aztec death whistle, but it sounds amazing. But there we have it. There's our two vase prints that we have completed today, and here's one that there's a video coming out soon. All right, any last questions before we call the stream here? If not, I will end the stream. Again, thank you to everybody that has tuned in. Let me zoom back out so y'all can see me again. Not that it matters, but I know that y'all want to see my amazing, beautiful face. There we go. That silk gray would look really cool on a spaceship print. Yeah, I can see that would be pretty cool. I like how it turned out on this ocarina stand. It's like pretty smooth. Turned out pretty well. Let's see. There's nothing for it. There it goes. I think this was at point, I want to say 0.16 layer height. But yeah, the layer lines are pretty minimal, except for all the stuff that happened on top. That wasn't great. I didn't use very much infill because I didn't want to use very much filament. I wanted it to be fairly light. So that's what I get for not using much filament or much infill. But that's the result of that. And also the scene isn't the prettiest, but it's also not the worst. So that's that. But yeah, the silk gray and the silk copper are definitely my favorite so far. Let's see. This one, this Mandalorian makes it look really shiny. Alright, if there are no further questions, then, like I said, thank you to everybody for joining me. Hit that subscribe button so that you see my normal videos. And if you want more live streams in the future, make sure to let me know. And I'm down to do more like this. I hope it was helpful. But yeah, thank you for being here. And until the next live stream, have a good one. See ya. Thanks, Zeno. Have a good night. All right, and we'll end it. Peace.